Okay, now before I move on to comparators, let's talk about what happens when you power solid blocks with redstone. There are actually two types of power that solid blocks can receive. Soft power, which I'll represent with orange, and hard power, which I'll represent with red. If you power a solid block with redstone dust, like this, that block becomes soft powered. Additionally, any solid blocks that redstone dust is sitting on directly also become soft powered. But if you power a solid block with a repeater, it becomes hard powered. Both soft powered and hard powered blocks are very similar. They can both activate components next to them, like lamps or doors. They can also both conduct to repeaters and comparators, and by extension, this means that you can actually pass signals through walls like this. The main difference is that a soft-powered block will not activate redstone around it, whereas a hard-powered block will. Alright, with that out of the way, let's move on to comparators. Unlike repeaters that have one input, comparators have three inputs, the rear and the two sides. Comparators have a delay of 1 tick, which is the same as a default repeater. They also have two different modes, indicated by the little knob on the front. By default, when you place them, they're in compare mode. But if you right-click and turn that little knob on, they change to subtract mode. Now, if you're not using the side inputs and you're just using the rear, a comparator is actually really simple. All it does is copy the signal strength from the rear to the output. For example, if I give it a signal strength of 7, it outputs a 7. It's basically a worse version of a repeater. But if you choose to use the side inputs, then the mode it's in actually matters. In compare mode, if either of the two side inputs are greater than the rear, it outputs a 0. Otherwise, it keeps outputting the rear, like normal. For example, if I have an 8 in the rear and a 7 and 9 on the sides, well, 9 is greater than 8, so we output 0. But if I have an 8 in the rear and 5 and 6 in the sides, well, neither of them is greater than 8, so we just keep outputting 8. Switching to subtract mode, now the comparator will actually perform a subtraction. It takes the rear minus the greater of the two sides and outputs the result. So if I have a 3 in the rear and a 1 and 2 in the sides, the comparator will do 3 minus the greater of the two sides, which is 2, and 3 minus 2 is 1. As another example, if I have a 3 in the rear and a 4 in the side, the comparator will do 3 minus 4, which is negative 1. But signal strength never goes below 0, so it actually just outputs a 0. And this leads to a really cool property of subtract mode, which is that if you give full power to the side, nothing can get through. You've essentially canceled this comparator, because anything minus 15 is going to be 0 or less. And I'll be honest with you, subtract mode is a lot more common in logical redstone. I almost never use compare mode. Just like repeaters, comparators hard power blocks, and on top of that, they can pass signal strength through blocks. If I give it a 7 in the rear, hard power a block, and place a redstone dust, we get a 7. Another super useful feature of comparators is that they can tell you how full a container is. For example, if I have a barrel completely full of items, then a comparator will read 15. If it's only somewhat full, I get a signal strength that is a representative fraction of how full it is.